a lot of guys tend to obsess about their stats when it comes to day game. So they're like calculating everything. They're almost sort of like, creating Excel spreadsheets and charts and that kind of thing, which, fair enough if you feel it genuinely helps you. What I would say when it comes to stats, even guys are asking me all the time, like, oh, how many numbers do you need or how many approaches do you need to get a number? How many phone numbers do you need to get a date? How many dates do you need to get laid? All this stuff. Of course, I have a kind of a basic idea in my head when it comes to London, for example, or another country. But to be honest, I really, really, really don't give a shit about this. Do my thing to the best of my ability. And whatever happens, happens. And generally speaking, when I go in with this more kind of laissez-faire kind of attitude, things are more likely to develop anyway, and I'm more likely to, get dates, get laid, whatever, That's just kind of my thinking about it. I know, like, some guys, especially when they're coming from a certain background, they are more sort of target-driven and target-orientated, which is, fair enough, but just don't get obsessed about it. Don't get obsessed about it, because I've seen it so many times in the past where guys are, relentlessly tracking their stats, and then they end up disappointed because they're thinking like, well, I've done this many approaches, I only got this many numbers, oh, it's not good enough, oh, there's something wrong, Sometimes it's just, the nature of how things go, and, it's very easy to have a kind of emotional highs and lows when you are doing this kind of thing, because, the negative stats will have an effect on you. Whereas when you have this more kind of laissez-faire kind of attitude, nothing really phases you. You take whatever comes and you seize the opportunities as and when they come, and you're happy that way.
For me personally, I've never kept stats. I just think you're approaching it too much as a sport. I think it's strange to be doing that. I don't think it's necessarily helpful. What difference does it make? It's too quantitative. It should be qualitative. When girls have asked me how many girls have you slept with, I said, one thing I do know for certain is more than one. I stopped counting after the first one. I've never really kept track of any stats. All I will say is that when it comes to ratios and the odds are completely in our favor, okay? The vast majority of guys that I know want to meet one girl that they really fancy and that they connect with, right? So therefore, the odds are in your favor. You only need one, right? So it doesn't matter if it's 100 or 200 or more approaches that you need to do to meet a girl that you like. The odds are in your favor. So I don't know. I don't think it's very helpful. And some guys get really demoralized. Oh, my numbers, my stats aren't as good as this other guy. Fuck all that.
Yeah, they just end up kind of comparing themselves to others, and it's not a healthy practice, really.
And it's the wrong mindset. It's that overly logical approach that essentially that doesn't help, because connecting with a woman isn't a logical thing. It's very subtle. It's very emotional. It's not this linear thing. I know men that probably have only slept with maybe 5 women in their entire life, but I respect those men. They're ultra masculine. I see them as absolute winners, but they've only slept with 5 women, okay? But all 5 women have been really high quality women. Yeah.
That's the other flaw with tracking stats all the time. It's like, there's far more to it. It's like, what's the quality of the girls that you're approaching? What's the SMV of the guy? Yeah, exactly. Where are you doing it? What kinds of girls are you only approaching? Girls walking really fast, etc. There's too many variables, and so it's just pointless in many ways.
I was coaching a guy recently, and he said to me, "Man, I would much prefer to be with a really attractive girl who I click with, resonate with, who's got great character, morals, and who's in my frame, than to have 10 or 20 shitty grotty fucks." So as I've gotten older, that's sort of like been my approach more and more. I'm more concerned with quality over quantity.
And that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like a lot of guys, they look at people like me and you, and they're sort of thinking like, oh, these guys must get laid every other day or something.
I'm getting laid, but it's with my girl.
Exactly. Well, the thing is that some people kind of have this misconception of that. There's this this value system where it's like you have to get laid all the time, whereas actually it's like, well, hang on a minute, like, who are you actually getting laid with? Yes, exactly. There's lots of variables in this, and it's just like, you got to do what's best for you. Some guys are literally just happy just to fuck anyone and anything. So that's fine in that case. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be judgy here neither. Like, I understand, like, maybe you just want to sort of go through a fuckboy phase where you're having sex with a lot of different women, fine, you know, I've gone through that as well, but you can still do that without being obsessed with stats.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Just enjoy it. I feel like the guys that do that, they don't really necessarily enjoy it for what it is that much. You've got to enjoy it.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on you approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.